I'm Dean, 34 years old, an architect from Seattle who always splurges on Christmas gifts for my nephews. This year, my mom Linda dropped a bombshell. We don't have space for your kids at Christmas. My brother Jason smirked, adding, "Yeah, just bring yourself. They're too loud anyway." I nodded silently, hiding my shock. That night, I returned every expensive toy I'd bought for Noah and Ethan. When Christmas morning arrived, my sister's frantic text lit up my phone. "Where are the presents? They're crying." Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you're watching from and what you would have done in my situation. Don't forget to subscribe and hit like if family drama resonates with you. Family has always been complicated for us. When I was 15, our dad passed away unexpectedly from a heart attack, leaving mom to raise 3 kids alone. Jason was 17, already causing trouble in school, while Sarah was just 12, still needing guidance through her formative years. Mom worked 2 jobs, often coming home exhausted, but still making time to cook dinner and ask about our day. After Dad died, the family dynamics shifted dramatically. Mom leaned heavily on Jason as the man of the house, despite his increasingly irresponsible behavior. Meanwhile, I buried myself in schoolwork, determined to earn scholarships and build a stable future. Sarah, the youngest, often got caught in the middle of our contrasting approaches to life. My hard work paid off when I received a full scholarship to study architecture at the University of Washington. Those college years were transformative. I excelled academically while working part-time to support myself without burdening mom. After graduation, I quickly climbed the career ladder at a prestigious architectural firm in Seattle, eventually becoming a senior associate with financial stability my father would have been proud of. Jason took a different path. He skipped college, jumping between retail jobs and construction work, never settling into a career. By 23, he married Christine, a woman who shared his perspective that having fun today mattered more than planning for tomorrow. Despite his spotty employment history, mom always defended him. "Jason has a big heart. He's just finding his way." Sarah followed a middle path. She attended community college, became a dental hygienist, and married Greg, an elementary school teacher. They had 2 wonderful boys, Noah, now 7, and Ethan, 5. Their modest, dual income provided stability, though they frequently struggled with childcare and unexpected expenses. From the moment Noah was born, I embraced being Uncle Dean. Unlike Jason, who always seemed uncomfortable around children, I genuinely enjoyed spending time with my nephews. Weekends often found us exploring Seattle's parks, visiting the Woodland Park Zoo, or having impromptu swimming lessons at my condo's pool. I taught Noah to ride a bike last summer, running alongside him until he gained confidence, his little face beaming with pride when he finally pedaled independently. Ethan, the younger one, was more reserved but equally endearing. He had a natural talent for drawing that reminded me of myself at his age. I bought him quality art supplies and spent hours sitting at the kitchen table sketching buildings while he created colorful landscapes beside me. These quiet moments often felt more meaningful than any adult conversation. My bond with the boys grew stronger each year, especially as Sarah and Greg's marriage encountered rough patches. During their separation last spring, I stepped up, taking the boys for entire weekends to give Sarah space to sort through her emotions. We built elaborate Lego structures, baked surprisingly edible cookies, and had serious conversations about their feelings regarding their parents' situation. Being that supportive presence for them fulfilled something deep inside me. Mom and Jason, however, viewed my relationship with the nephews differently. "You're spoiling them," Mom would say after I brought back the boys from a science museum trip with new dinosaur models. "Sarah needs to learn to provide these things herself." Jason was more directly antagonistic. "Playing super uncle doesn't make up for not having kids of your own," he once remarked at a family barbecue, loud enough for everyone to hear. Some of us actually grew up and started families. The comment stung particularly because my long-term relationship had ended 2 years prior, when my partner and I disagreed about having children. These tensions simmered beneath the surface of family gatherings. Mom increasingly sided with Jason on most matters, from holiday plans to financial decisions about the family home. My achievements, like designing an award-winning community center or being featured in architectural magazines, were acknowledged briefly. Then conversation would pivot to Jason's latest job prospect or Christine's community theater performance. Sarah noticed this imbalance, but avoided confrontation, Mom's always been that way with him, she told me once after a particularly frustrating Thanksgiving dinner. It's easier to just accept it. But I saw how the favoritism affected her too, especially when Mom babysit Jason's daughter regularly, but claimed to be too tired when Sarah needed similar help with the boys. Despite these frustrations, I maintained my involvement with Noah and Ethan. Their excitement when I arrived for visits running full speed for hugs showing me their latest school projects made the family politics worthwhile. I started a college fund for each boy, contributing monthly, without telling Sarah or Greg. I wanted them to have options I nearly lost after Dad died. Last summer I took the boys camping at Olympic National Park, teaching them to identify native plants and wildlife. Watching their faces illuminate with wonder at seeing stars without city light pollution reinforced why I prioritized these experiences. Noah asked thoughtful questions about constellations, while Ethan fell asleep against my shoulder by the campfire. That night I realized these moments were shaping not just their childhoods but my adult life as well. As Christmas approached this year, I planned my gifts with special care. Noah had been talking about space exploration, so I purchased an advanced Lego space station set he'd admired in a toy store window. For Ethan, I found a child-friendly tablet preloaded with creative apps that would nurture his artistic tendencies. Additionally, I ordered custom bikes for both boys, planning to store them at my place for springtime rides along Lake Washington. These weren't just gifts. They represented my ongoing commitment to being present in their lives. What I didn't realize was how these expressions of love would become ammunition in a family conflict that had been brewing for years. Our family Christmas tradition had remained consistent since Dad passed away. Everyone gathered at Mom's house on Christmas Eve for dinner, followed by opening one gift each. Christmas morning meant breakfast casserole, remaining presents, and a day of board games and holiday movies. The nephews always stayed overnight, sleeping in the guest room that still contained some of our childhood toys. This year I'd gone all out with the gifts. Beyond the Lego space station for Noah and creative tablet for Ethan, I'd purchased several books for each boy based on their interests. The custom bikes were my pride and joy, one blue with silver accents for Noah, one green with black details for Ethan, both with their names painted on the crossbar. I'd also planned a day trip to Hurricane Ridge Snow Park for December 26th, knowing the boys had never experienced proper snow play. 1 week before Christmas, my phone rang during a client meeting. Seeing Mom's name, I excused myself and stepped into the hallway. "Dean, honey, we need to discuss Christmas arrangements." Mom began, her tone already making me uneasy. "What's up? I've got everything ready." "Do you need me to bring extra chairs again?" I asked, recalling last year when Jason invited friends without warning. "Actually, we're doing things differently this year," she paused. "We don't have space for your kids at Christmas." I stood frozen in the corridor of my office building. "My kids? You mean Noah and Ethan? They're not my kids, they're my nephews, your grandchildren. You know what I mean." Mom continued, her voice dropping slightly. "Jason and Christine want an adults-only Christmas this year. No children. They feel we all need a break from the noise and mess." "But it's Christmas," I countered, lowering my voice as colleagues passed by. "The boys look forward to this all year. Where are Sarah and Greg supposed to leave them?" "They can hire a babysitter for Christmas Eve," and mourning Mom replied matter-of-factly, "or have Christmas at their own house." Jason made a good point that we've catered to the children for years. It's time for an elegant, peaceful holiday. I took a deep breath. "Did you discuss this with Sarah?" "I'm calling her next. But I wanted to let you know, since you always bring those large gifts that take up so much space in the living room." "So this is about my presents being too big?" I asked, confusion mounting. "Partly," she admitted. "Jason mentioned that your gifts overshadow what he and Christine can afford for their daughter. It creates an uncomfortable situation." My client was waiting, so I reluctantly agreed to call back later. Throughout the afternoon meeting, I couldn't focus my mind replaying Mom's words. That evening, I tried calling Sarah but got her voicemail. Instead, I received a video call from Jason. His familiar smirk appeared on screen. "So Mom told you about Christmas?" "Yeah, she did. I don't understand why suddenly the kids aren't welcome for a family holiday." Jason leaned back in his chair looking satisfied. Yeah, just bring yourself. They're too loud anyway. Christine and I want to enjoy a sophisticated Christmas for once. Adults enjoying adult conversation. Good wine. No sticky fingers on the furniture. What about Mackenzie? I asked, referring to his 8-year-old daughter. She's staying with Christine's parents. They have a big family gathering with cousins her age. Much more fun for her. The subtext was clear: his child deserved a fun Christmas with family, while Sarah's children didn't. Christine appeared in the background, waving casually. We're thinking elegant this year. Black tie optional. I'm making a 5-course dinner. I maintained composure despite my rising anger. Have you considered how this affects Sarah and the boys? They don't have other family to visit. Jason shrugged. Not my problem. They should have planned better. After ending the call, I sat in my dark apartment, piecing together what was happening. This wasn't about space or sophisticated holidays. Jason had always resented my relationship with Noah and Ethan, the way they ran to me first at family gatherings, how they proudly showed me their report cards and drawings. My success in my career contrasted sharply with his employment struggles, and my generosity toward the nephews highlighted this disparity further. I recalled previous incidents: Jason accidentally breaking Noah's birthday gift from me last year, claiming my Thanksgiving pumpkin pie made him sick, scheduling competing events when I planned outings with the boys. This Christmas exclusion was merely the latest in his campaign to minimize my role in the family. Mom's complicity hurt even more. She'd always enabled Jason's behavior, but actively participating in excluding her own grandchildren from Christmas crossed a line I hadn't anticipated. The favoritism had evolved into something uglier, a willingness to hurt innocent children to appease her favorite son. I paced my apartment, debating my options. Confronting them directly would likely backfire, causing more drama that would ultimately affect the boys. Sarah was already walking a tightrope, dependent on Mom for occasional childcare and emergency financial help. I couldn't put her in the middle of this conflict. That night I barely slept, replaying years of small slights and power plays. By morning, a simmering anger had replaced my initial shock. This wasn't just about Christmas, it was about years of manipulation and a fundamental lack of respect, not just for me, but for Sarah and her children. Something needed to change, and I realized I might be the only one positioned to force that change. The morning after Jason's call, I sat at my kitchen counter with coffee, making a decision that would alter our family dynamics permanently. I'd spent years trying to maintain peace, overlooking slights and double standards for the sake of family harmony. That approach had only emboldened Jason and reinforced Mom's favoritism. The exclusion of Noah and Ethan from Christmas wasn't just another minor slight, it was a clear message about who truly mattered in our family hierarchy. I called Sarah, determined to hear her perspective before taking action. She answered on the 4th ring, sounding harried with children's voices in the background. Hey Dean, can I call you back? I'm getting the boys ready for school. It's about Christmas, I said, knowing this would get her attention. Did Mom call you yesterday? The background noise suddenly diminished. Yes, she said quietly. She told me about the adults-only Christmas. I'm still processing it. What did you tell her? Sarah sighed heavily. What could I say? I told her we'd figure something out. Greg's parents are visiting his sister in Florida, so we can't go there. I guess we'll just have Christmas at home, the 4 of us. Did you ask why they were excluding the boys? I pressed. Mom said something about Jason and Christine wanting a sophisticated holiday experience this year. Her voice cracked slightly. Dean, the boys were so excited about sleeping at Grandma's house on Christmas Eve. Noah already wrapped the ornament he made for her tree. My resolve strengthened, hearing the resignation in Sarah's voice. This pattern had repeated throughout our lives. Jason demanded, Mom accommodated, Sarah acquiesced, and I suppressed my objections for the sake of peace. I'll call you later, I promised. We'll figure this out. After hanging up, I made 3 decisive moves. First, I contacted the toy store and returned the Lego space station and tablet, explaining I no longer needed them. Second, I called the bike shop and canceled the custom orders, forfeiting the deposits. Third, I opened my laptop and searched for last-minute vacation packages. Within an hour, I'd booked a 7-day stay at an all-inclusive resort in Cancun, departing early Christmas morning. The irony wasn't lost on me for years. I'd declined invitations from friends to travel during holidays, prioritizing family time instead. Now I was spending thousands of dollars to be as far from family as possible. I texted Mom a brief message: "I've made other arrangements for Christmas. Won't be attending dinner at your house. Have a good holiday." Her response came quickly: "What other arrangements? Everyone's expecting you." I didn't elaborate, simply reiterating that I wouldn't be there. Jason called almost immediately after, but I let it go to voicemail. His message alternated between guilt-tripping and accusation. "Mom's upset now." "What's your problem? Is this because of the kids thing? Don't be so sensitive." That afternoon, I purchased small, thoughtful gifts for my coworkers and neighbors, people who showed me consistent respect. I arranged for my absence from the office, setting automated responses and delegating ongoing projects to colleagues. For the first time in my adult life, I was choosing myself over family obligation. Sarah called that evening, her voice tight with worry. "Mom says you're not coming for Christmas. Dean, please don't make things worse. Let's just get through the holidays." "I'm not trying to make things worse," I explained, "but I'm not going to pretend everything's fine when it's not. They explicitly excluded your children from a family holiday. That crosses a line. But skipping Christmas entirely, that seems extreme. What's extreme is telling grandchildren they're not welcome at Christmas. What's extreme is a grown man being jealous of the relationship I have with his nephews. What's extreme is our mother enabling all of it for decades." Sarah was silent for a moment. "Where will you go?" "Mexico. All-inclusive resort. I leave Christmas morning." Another pause. "You deserve a break. But the boys will miss you." "I'll see them after New Year's, I promised." "And Sarah, stop accepting scraps from Mom and Jason. You and your kids deserve better." The week before Christmas passed in a blur of preparation and ignored calls from Mom and Jason. I purchased new swim trunks, sunglasses, and beach attire, items I rarely needed in Seattle's perpetual drizzle. My apartment felt lighter somehow, as if the decision to break tradition had physically lifted a weight from the space. I skipped the Christmas Eve gathering entirely, turning off my phone and watching action movies instead. The expected guilt never materialized. Instead, I felt an unfamiliar sense of liberation. Years of walking on eggshells around Jason's fragile ego and Mom's biased expectations had created a constraint I hadn't fully recognized until I decided to break free. As I packed my suitcase on Christmas Eve, I glanced at the framed photo of Noah and Ethan on my bookshelf. For a moment, doubt crept in. Was I punishing innocent children for the adults' behavior? Then I remembered Noah's disappointed face last Thanksgiving, when Jason interrupted his story about a school project to talk about his new truck. I remembered Ethan's confusion when Mom praised Jason's daughter effusively for a mediocre art project while barely acknowledging his detailed drawing. These boys were already experiencing the family's dysfunction. Perhaps my stand would eventually create a healthier environment for them. I went to bed early, setting my alarm for 4:30 to catch my 6:15 flight. As I drifted off to sleep, I realized this Christmas would be memorable not for the usual reasons of tradition and togetherness, but as the moment I finally refused to participate in a family system that had been slowly eroding my self-worth for years. My alarm jolted me awake at 4:30 on Christmas morning. Outside, Seattle was still dark, a light rain tapping against my bedroom window. I showered quickly, double-checked my passport and travel documents, and called a rideshare to take me to SeaTac Airport. The driver, a middle-aged man named Roland, seemed surprised to have a pickup on Christmas morning. "Family or vacation?" he asked, glancing at my suitcase in the rearview mirror. "Vacation," I replied. "Cancun. Running away from Christmas or running toward sunshine?" His question was casual but surprisingly perceptive. Both, I guess. We rode in comfortable silence through the empty streets. The city was still sleeping, holiday lights twinkling in windows of darkened homes where children would soon wake to discover presents under trees. I pushed away thoughts of Noah and Ethan, focusing instead on the beach awaiting me. At the airport, I checked my bag, moved smoothly through security, and found my gate. The terminal was unusually quiet, populated mainly by airline staff and a handful of travelers like myself who had chosen flight over family festivities. I purchased coffee and a breakfast sandwich, settling into a seat near the window to watch planes take off into the gradually lightening sky. At 7:10, I turned on my phone to check my boarding status. Immediately, a barrage of notifications appeared. 3 missed calls from Mom, 2 from Jason, and a series of increasingly frantic texts from Sarah. The most recent, sent just minutes ago, read in all caps, "Where are the presents? They're crying." I stared at the message, my coffee cooling beside me. This was the moment when patterns typically reasserted themselves, when I would feel guilty, to make apologies, and rush to fix whatever problem the family had decided was mine to solve. But something had shifted inside me. The expected guilt didn't materialize. I typed a response. I was told the nephews weren't welcome at the family Christmas. If they aren't important enough to include in the celebration, then my gifts aren't needed either. I returned everything. 3 dots appeared immediately as Sarah typed her response. Before she could finish, I sent a follow-up message with a photo of my boarding pass to Cancun. "Merry Christmas to me. I'll be back after New Year's." Sarah's reply came quickly. "You can't be serious. The boys have been asking about Uncle Dean's presents all morning. They're devastated." "I'm very serious," I wrote back. "Ask Mom and Jason why the boys weren't welcome for Christmas. That decision had consequences." My phone began ringing, Sarah calling. I declined the call and continued typing. For years, I've watched Jason undermine my relationship with the boys. I've watched Mom enable his jealousy. I've watched you accept their treatment because it's easier than standing up to them. I'm done pretending this is normal or healthy. Sarah's response was defensive. "This isn't fair to Noah and Ethan. They didn't do anything wrong." "No, they didn't," I agreed. "Neither did I. Yet here we are. The adults who excluded innocent children from Christmas are the ones who created this situation, not me." As we texted, my phone began vibrating with incoming calls from Mom. I ignored them, knowing exactly what she would say, how I was being selfish, how I was ruining Christmas, how I needed to think about family first. The irony of her likely lecture wasn't lost on me. Finally, I sent Sarah one last message. "I love those boys. You know that. But I can't keep participating in a family system that treats them as second-class grandchildren and me as an ATM with gift-giving privileges. Things need to change." I silenced my phone as the gate agent announced pre-boarding. Walking toward the jet bridge, I felt a complex mixture of emotions: regret about disappointing the nephews, anger at my mother and brother, and underneath it all, a surprising sense of empowerment. For the first time in memory, I was choosing my own well-being over the dysfunctional expectations of my family. Once settled in my window seat, I checked my phone one final time before airplane mode. Mom had left a voicemail, her voice tight with controlled anger. "Dean Michael Thompson, I don't know what game you're playing, but you've upset everyone. Sarah's boys are crying. Jason thinks you're being ridiculous, and I'm extremely disappointed. Call me immediately." Jason had sent a text. "Way to ruin Christmas, drama queen. Mom's upset, and it's your fault. Again." Sarah's final message was more measured. "I understand you're hurt, but this feels like punishment. Please reconsider and at least send something for the boys." As the plane began taxiing, I turned off my phone completely. Through the window, I watched Seattle disappear beneath clouds, feeling both heavy with the weight of family conflict and strangely lightened by my decision to break free from its gravitational pull. The plane accelerated down the runway, lifted into the air, and pointed south toward Mexico. With each mile of distance, the knot in my chest loosened incrementally. 5 hours later, I stepped off the plane into the humid warmth of Cancun. Palm trees swayed against a perfect blue sky, and airport employees greeted arriving passengers with Feliz Navidad. The contrast with gray, rainy Seattle couldn't have been more dramatic. I collected my luggage and found the shuttle to my resort, deliberately pushing thoughts of home from my mind. The Paradise Cove Resort was decorated for Christmas with tropical flair. A palm tree strung with lights served as the lobby's Christmas tree, and staff wore Santa hats with their uniforms. I checked in, was handed a welcome cocktail, and followed a porter to my ocean view room. Opening the balcony door, I listened to waves crashing against white sand and took my first deep breath in what felt like weeks. Merry Christmas to me. I whispered, raising my drink toward the horizon. The guilt and doubt I'd anticipated feeling were remarkably absent, replaced instead by a growing certainty that this rupture had been necessary, perhaps even overdue. The Paradise Cove Resort, sprawled along a pristine stretch of Caribbean coastline, its white buildings contrasting beautifully with the turquoise water. My room featured a king-sized bed, marble bathroom, and private balcony overlooking the ocean. After unpacking, I changed into swim trunks and headed to the beach, determined to immerse myself in vacation mode and leave family drama behind. The beach was surprisingly uncrowded for Christmas Day. I claimed a lounge chair under a palapa, ordered a margarita from a passing server, and let the sun warm my Seattle pale skin. Closing my eyes, I tried to focus on the sound of waves rather than the echoes of Sarah's text about crying nephews. First time in Cancun. I opened my eyes to find a man about my age in the adjacent chair raising his glass in friendly greeting. "That obvious?" I asked. "You have that, 'I've just escaped somewhere cold and can't believe this is real' look," he laughed. "I'm Michael, by the way. Chicago. Dean. Seattle. Let me guess, avoiding family Christmas." I raised an eyebrow. "How did you know?" "Because that's why half the people are here. The resort calls this their Family Freedom Package. Didn't you notice most guests are solo travelers or couples without kids?" Looking around, I realized he was right. The beach held mainly adults, none with children in tow. "Christmas refugee myself," Michael continued. "Third year running. My family does this passive-aggressive gift exchange thing where everyone secretly judges each other's presents. Decided life's too short, started coming here instead." As we talked, I learned Michael was a divorced pharmaceutical sales rep who had gradually reduced his family obligations after years of feeling like an outsider. "My brother married the perfect woman who makes perfect Christmas cookies and has perfect children who play perfect piano recitals at perfect holiday gatherings," he explained. I got tired of being the imperfect comparison. His story resonated uncomfortably with my own situation. Over beers at the beach bar that afternoon, I found myself sharing details about Mom's favoritism, Jason's jealousy, and the Christmas exclusion that had finally pushed me to break tradition. "The part that bothers me most," I admitted, "is that I still feel guilty about the nephews. They didn't deserve to be caught in the middle." Michael nodded thoughtfully. "Kids always get caught in adult drama, but sometimes the best thing you can do is model what healthy boundaries look like. Your nephews are watching how you let people treat you." That evening, I joined a Christmas dinner at the resort's main restaurant, finding myself seated at a table with other solo travelers. Besides Michael, there was Rebecca from Toronto, avoiding her newly divorced parents' competing Christmas events, Antonio from Barcelona, escaping his large family's questions about his single status, and Layla from Miami taking a break from her role as primary caregiver for her mother. As we shared stories over turkey with tropical fruit glaze and champagne, a pattern emerged. Each of us had reached a breaking point with family expectations that prioritized appearances over authentic connection. Each had chosen self-preservation over self-sacrifice. And remarkably, none expressed regret about their decision. "Family systems don't change unless something disrupts them," Layla observed. She'd trained as a therapist before shifting to real estate. Sometimes being the difficult one who refuses to play along is actually the healthiest role. That night, lying in my comfortable hotel bed, listening to ocean waves, I considered Layla's words. Had I really been doing my nephews any favors by participating in a family system that clearly devalued them compared to Jason's daughter? Was my annual overcompensation with extravagant gifts actually reinforcing the very dynamic I resented? The next morning, I joined a snorkeling excursion to a nearby reef. Floating above vibrant coral formations, watching tropical fish dart through crystalline water, I experienced a moment of perfect clarity. My relationship with Noah and Ethan didn't need to be defined by Christmas presents or family gatherings. I could build something more meaningful with them outside the toxic dynamics that had characterized our family for years. On my third day in Mexico, I finally checked my phone. Numerous missed calls and texts awaited, but one caught my attention, a video message from Sarah. With trepidation, I pressed play. The video showed Noah and Ethan sitting on their living room couch, both with puffy eyes, suggesting recent tears. "Say hi to Uncle Dean," Sarah's voice instructed from behind the camera. "Hi, Uncle Dean," they mumbled in unison, clearly coached. "We miss you," Noah added, looking directly at the camera. "Mom said you went to Mexico instead of Christmas." "Did we do something wrong, Ethan?" asked his small voice, breaking my heart. The video ended there. I sat on my balcony watching it repeatedly, tears forming despite the bright sunshine. They thought they had done something wrong, exactly what I'd hoped to avoid. I called Sarah, immediately relieved when she answered. "That video was low, Sarah," I said without preamble. "I didn't make it to manipulate you," she defended. "They genuinely wanted to know why you weren't there and why there weren't any presents from you. What was I supposed to tell them? The truth would be a start. That their grandmother and uncle decided children weren't welcome at Christmas this year." Sarah sighed heavily. "I couldn't tell them that. They already feel like Grandma prefers Mackenzie." "Because she does," I stated flatly. "And by protecting Mom and Jason from the consequences of their actions, you're teaching the boys to accept being treated as less important." There was a long pause before Sarah spoke again, her voice quieter. "Maybe you're right. I just don't know how to stand up to Mom without making everything worse." "That's exactly what they count on, Sarah. They know you'll accept whatever they decide because you're afraid of conflict." Another pause. "So what do I tell the boys about why you didn't bring presents?" I thought carefully before answering. "Tell them Uncle Dean is figuring out a new Christmas tradition that will be just for us. Something better than presents under a tree. Tell them I'll explain everything when I get back." After hanging up, I walked to the resort's gift shop. I purchased colorful Mexican blankets for each nephew, hand-carved wooden animals, and local chocolate. These weren't replacement gifts for the expensive items I'd returned. They were symbols of a new approach to our relationship, one not based on monetary value or competition with Jason's family. That evening, I joined a group excursion to Chichen Itza, the ancient Mayan ruins. Walking among structures that had endured for centuries, I gained perspective on my own family conflicts. Civilizations rose and fell, yet human dynamics remained surprisingly consistent. Power struggles, favoritism, the desire for control. What mattered was how individuals responded to these universal challenges. By the 5th day of my trip, I'd formed a comfortable routine and friendship with several other Christmas refugees. We met for breakfast, joined activities together, and shared dinners filled with increasingly honest conversations. Away from the pressure of family expectations, I found myself more relaxed and authentic than I'd been in years. Michael and I particularly connected, both recognizing similar patterns in our family histories. "The hardest part," he reflected during our final dinner together, "is accepting that you can't change them. You can only change how you respond to them." "I think I've spent years trying to earn equal status in my family," I admitted. "Trying to prove my worth through success, generosity, reliability." "And did it work?" he asked, already knowing the answer. "Not once," I laughed ruefully. No matter what I achieved or gave, Jason remained the favorite. The rules always changed to ensure I couldn't win. "So stop playing their game," Michael suggested simply. "Create your own game with your own rules." His words stayed with me as I packed on my final evening in Mexico. I'd arrived as a man fleeing family conflict. I was leaving as someone ready to establish new boundaries and expectations. The nephews deserved a relationship with me, unfiltered through the distorted lens of family dysfunction. Sarah deserved support in finding her own voice, and I deserved respect that wasn't contingent on compliance with unfair demands. Before bed, I sent Sarah a message. "Landing tomorrow afternoon. Would like to see the boys this weekend. I have some things from Mexico for them and an idea I want to discuss with you." Her reply came quickly. "They'll be excited to see you. And Dean, I've been thinking about what you said. You're right about a lot of things." For the first time since this conflict began, I felt genuine hope, not for a return to previous patterns, but for the possibility of something healthier emerging from this necessary disruption. My flight landed in Seattle on New Year's Eve afternoon. The familiar gray drizzle welcomed me home, a stark contrast to Cancun's sunshine. During the rideshare from the airport, I scrolled through messages I'd avoided during vacation, 14 missed calls from Mom, 23 text messages from Jason, increasingly hostile, and several voicemails from each. Mom's messages cycled through guilt. I can't believe you'd abandon family at Christmas anger. After everything I've done for you, and eventual bargaining, please call, we can work this out. Jason's followed a predictable pattern of initial mockery. Enjoy your tantrum vacation, escalating to outright attacks on my character. Always knew you were selfish. The most significant communication was an email from Mom sent 2 days after Christmas. Its subject line read, "Your behavior," all caps, conveying her indignation before I even opened it. "Dean," she wrote, "I've never been so disappointed in my life. Your childish disappearing act ruined Christmas for everyone. Sarah's boys cried all morning looking for your presence. Jason and Christine felt terrible watching them upset. I spent the day trying to explain your absence, instead of enjoying the holiday I worked so hard to prepare. If you had concerns about our adults-only Christmas, you should have discussed them maturely, instead of this dramatic overreaction. We could have found a compromise. Instead, you chose to hurt innocent children to make your point. I expect you to apologize to everyone, especially Noah and Ethan. They deserve an explanation and replacement gifts for what you cruelly withheld. This isn't the son I raised. Call me when you're ready to make amends." I closed the email without responding, struck by how thoroughly she had reframed the situation. In her version, I was the villain who hurt children, not the adults who had explicitly excluded them from a family holiday. The cognitive dissonance was remarkable. After unpacking and sorting through mail, I texted Sarah back from Mexico. "Can I come see the boys tomorrow?" She responded quickly, "Yes, come for lunch. They're excited to see you." The next day I arrived at Sarah and Greg's modest craftsman home, carrying a bright gift bag with the Mexican presents. Noah spotted me through the window and raced outside, Ethan following close behind. Their enthusiastic hugs melted away any remaining doubt about my decision to establish new boundaries with Mom and Jason. "Did you swim with sharks in Mexico?" Noah asked, eyes wide. "Not sharks, but I saw sea turtles while snorkeling," I told him, following them inside. Sarah greeted me with a tentative hug. "You look good. Tan suits you." Over lunch, I kept conversation light, asking about their Christmas morning and school break activities. After the boys finished eating, I presented the gift bag. "I brought you something from Mexico." They eagerly explored the contents, exclaiming over the colorful blankets, wooden animals, and chocolate. These simple gifts, a fraction of what I'd originally planned, delighted them as much as any expensive toy would have. "Can we have the blankets in our room?" Ethan asked Sarah. Of course, she nodded, giving me a meaningful look over their heads. When the boys retreated to their room to find perfect spots for their wooden animals, Sarah and I moved to the living room for an overdue conversation. "Mom's furious," she began. "She's convinced you did this specifically to hurt her." "That's her interpretation," I replied calmly. "I made a decision to remove myself from a toxic situation." Sarah twisted her wedding ring nervously. "Christmas Day was awful. The boys kept asking where Uncle Dean was and why you didn't bring presents. Mom blamed you entirely, told them you were being selfish. Jason made snide comments all day." "I'm sorry the boys were caught in the middle," I said sincerely. "But I'm not sorry for finally drawing a line." Sarah nodded slowly. "I've been thinking about what you said, about how I never stand up to Mom or Jason because I'm afraid of conflict. You're right." She lowered her voice. "Greg's been saying the same thing for years. It's a pattern we all fell into after Dad died," I acknowledged. "Mom leaned on Jason, favored him despite his behavior. I tried to earn equal status through achievement. You avoided conflict to keep peace. But it's not working for any of us, is it?" Sarah's eyes welled with tears. "The boys notice how differently Mom treats them compared to Mackenzie. Noah asked me last month why Grandma never comes to his school events, but goes to all of Mackenzie's dance recitals. This revelation strengthened my resolve. I'm meeting Mom and Jason for coffee tomorrow. It's time for an honest conversation." Sarah looked alarmed. "They'll gang up on you." Probably, I agreed. But nothing changes if we keep avoiding difficult conversations. The next day I arrived at a neutral coffee shop downtown 15 minutes early, selecting a corner table away from other customers. Mom arrived exactly on time, her expression a mixture of indignation and wounded pride. Jason sauntered in 5 minutes late, immediately signaling his contempt by checking his phone throughout initial greetings. "I appreciate you both meeting me," I began. "We assumed you were finally ready to apologize," Mom interrupted. I took a deep breath. "I'm not here to apologize. I'm here to explain my perspective and establish some boundaries going forward." Jason snorted. "Boundaries. Here we go with the therapy talk. You can dismiss it if you want." I continued steadily, but excluding Sarah's children from Christmas, while including Jason's daughter in holiday plans elsewhere, was hurtful and unfair. "That's completely different," Mom protested. "Mackenzie went to Christine's family. We wanted one elegant adult Christmas. An adult Christmas that coincidentally excluded the only grandchildren who prefer spending time with me," I pointed out. After years of Jason making disparaging remarks about my relationship with Noah and Ethan. "Oh, please," Jason rolled his eyes. "Not everything is about you, Dean." "You're right. This is about two little boys who were told they weren't welcome at their grandmother's house for Christmas. It's about years of Mom favoring you, regardless of your behavior, while holding Sarah and me to different standards." Mom's face flushed. "That is absolutely untrue. I've always treated all my children equally." "Really?" I challenged gently. "When Jason lost 3 jobs in 2 years, you called it bad luck and loaned him money. When Sarah needed help with childcare during her nursing certification, you were too tired. When I designed an award-winning building, you changed the subject to Jason's new truck. You're just jealous because I have a family and you don't," Jason sneered. "I have a family," I corrected him, "one that now includes firm boundaries. I won't participate in events where Sarah's children are explicitly unwelcome. I won't pretend Mom's favoritism is normal or acceptable. And I won't allow either of you to undermine my relationship with my nephews." Mom's expression hardened. "So you're giving us ultimatums now? I'm telling you what I need to maintain a healthy relationship with you both. What you do with that information is your choice. And if we don't meet your demands," Jason challenged, "then I'll continue building relationships with Sarah and the boys independently and limit my interaction with you to necessary family functions." Mom's eyes filled with tears. Whether genuine or strategic was unclear. "After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me, by threatening to abandon me in my senior years." "I'm not abandoning anyone," I said firmly. "I'm asking to be treated with respect and for my nephews to be treated fairly. That's not an unreasonable request." The conversation continued in circles, Mom alternating between defensiveness and victimhood, Jason between aggression and dismissal. I maintained calm, repeating my position without escalation. Eventually, Mom dabbed her eyes with a napkin. "I suppose I might have shown Jason special consideration sometimes," she conceded reluctantly. "He needed more support after your father died." It wasn't a full acknowledgement, but it was more than she'd ever admitted before. "And the Christmas decision I pressed." She sighed. "Perhaps excluding the boys wasn't the best approach. We could have found an alternative solution." Jason remained unapologetic, but I hadn't expected contrition from him. As we prepared to leave, I made one final statement. "I love you both. That hasn't changed. But the way we interact needs to change if we want a healthy relationship moving forward." Walking away from that coffee shop, I felt lighter than I had in years. The conversation hadn't resolved everything long established. Family dynamics rarely change after one discussion, but it represented a crucial first step. For perhaps the first time in my adult life, I had advocated for my own worth without apology or compromise. The immediate aftermath was predictably rocky. Mom called the next day, veering between tentative acknowledgement of my points and renewed attempts at guilt. Jason sent a text accusing me of turning Mom against him. But beneath the defensive reactions, something fundamental had shifted. The unspoken rules governing our family system had been named and challenged, making it impossible to simply revert to previous patterns. Sarah called that evening, eager for details. "Mom left me a strange voicemail," she reported. "She asked if the boys would like to come for a special belated Christmas this weekend. Said she has presents for them. That's a start, I observed. Will you go? Yes, but with conditions. I told her we can only stay 2 hours, and if Jason makes any negative comments, we're leaving immediately. Sarah's voice contained a newfound assertiveness. Greg nearly fell over when I said that. He's been trying to get me to stand up to them for years. Good for you, I encouraged. How did Mom respond? She was shocked then, said she understood. I think she's realizing things have to change. That night I sent an email to Mom, Jason, and Sarah, outlining my suggestions for rebuilding family relationships. I proposed monthly family dinners with all children included equal time and attention for all grandchildren, and a commitment to respectful communication. Whether they would embrace these suggestions remained uncertain, but articulating them represented another step toward healthier dynamics. As January progressed, small changes emerged. Mom called Noah on his half-birthday, something she'd never done before. Jason was notably absent from a family dinner Sarah organized, creating a more relaxed atmosphere. And I found myself able to decline a last-minute request from Mom without the usual accompanying guilt. These were modest beginnings, not dramatic transformations. Real change would require consistent effort and probably occasional setbacks. But for the first time, I felt hopeful that our family might eventually develop more authentic connections, ones based on mutual respect rather than compliance with dysfunctional expectations. 6 months after the Christmas confrontation, Seattle's summer brought warm sunshine and significant changes to our family landscape. The most tangible change was my new home, a craftsman-style house with 3 bedrooms in a family-friendly neighborhood. Unlike my sleek downtown condo, this place featured a backyard with a fire pit, a tree suitable for a future treehouse, and most importantly, dedicated rooms for Noah and Ethan to stay overnight. The house represented my commitment to creating space for what truly mattered. I'd furnished the boys' room with twin beds, desks for homework, and shelves for their growing interests: astronomy. For Noah, art supplies; for Ethan. Their excitement when they first saw the space confirmed I'd made the right decision. "We really get our own room at your house?" Noah had asked, eyes wide with disbelief. "Absolutely," I'd assured him. "This is your space whenever you want to stay over." Our uncle weekends had become a regular fixture, occurring every 3rd weekend without fail. We established traditions: Friday night pizza and board games, Saturday morning pancakes, afternoon adventures around Seattle, and Sunday morning nature walks before I returned them home. These consistent quality interactions proved more meaningful than any expensive gift I could have purchased. Sarah had undergone perhaps the most remarkable transformation. After our Christmas standoff, she'd found her voice in unexpected ways. She enrolled in an assertiveness training course, started therapy to address her conflict avoidance, and gradually established clearer boundaries with Mom and Jason. Her marriage to Greg strengthened as she stopped positioning herself as family peacekeeper at the expense of her immediate family's needs. I never realized how much energy I spent worrying about Mom's reactions, she confided during a backyard barbecue at my new house. It's exhausting to constantly manage other people's feelings. Mom's evolution proved more complicated. Initially defensive and hurt by what she perceived as her children's rebellion, she gradually demonstrated willingness to examine her role in our dysfunctional patterns. After several stilted interactions, she agreed to attend family therapy sessions with Sarah and me. Jason refused to participate, but even without him, these conversations facilitated important breakthroughs. During our 3rd session, Mom tearfully acknowledged her favoritism toward Jason. "After your father died, Jason reminded me so much of him, the same impulsive decisions, the same charm. I think I was trying to save your father by saving Jason from consequences." This admission, while painful to hear, allowed us to begin rebuilding our relationship on more honest ground. Practical changes followed. Mom established a rotation system for attending grandchildren's events, ensuring equal presence at Noah and Ethan's activities compared to Mackenzie's. She created a calendar, tracking birthdays, school performances, and sports games, visibly committed to more balanced grandparenting. Jason's response proved less encouraging. Confronted with shifting family dynamics that no longer centered his needs and feelings, he retreated into familiar patterns of blame and victimhood. Our interactions remained strained, limited mostly to necessary family gatherings where he typically maintained cold civility. Christine, perhaps sensing which way the wind was blowing, made separate efforts to maintain relationships with Sarah and me, occasionally bringing Mackenzie for playdates with her cousins. As summer transitioned to fall, I reflected on the profound shifts in my personal boundaries. I no longer automatically accepted last-minute requests from family members. I expressed opinions without preemptively softening them to avoid conflict. Most significantly, I stopped measuring my worth against Jason's perceived status in the family hierarchy. These changes rippled beyond family relationships. At work, I declined a high-profile project with an unrealistic timeline instead of automatically saying yes to prove my value. In dating, I was more authentic about my needs and expectations, rather than molding myself to others' preferences. Even my friendships deepened as I brought more genuine presence to those connections. Perhaps most rewarding was witnessing Noah and Ethan's development in this healthier environment. Noah, now 8, displayed increasing confidence in expressing his interests, even when they differed from his cousin's preferences. Ethan, 6, showed less anxiety about getting in trouble for normal childhood behaviors. Both boys seemed more secure in their understanding that love shouldn't require perfect compliance or performance. As the anniversary of last year's Christmas conflict approached, holiday planning generated inevitable tension. After several family discussions, we agreed on a new arrangement. Christmas Eve would be spent at Sarah and Greg's house with all children included. Christmas Day would be divided mourning, with immediate family's afternoon gathering at my house for a casual meal and gift exchange. Mom initially pushed for hosting as usual, but ultimately accepted the new plan. Jason and Christine agreed to attend both gatherings, a promising sign of potential reconciliation. I approached the holiday with cautious optimism, recognizing that one successful Christmas wouldn't erase years of dysfunctional patterns, but could represent meaningful progress. 2 weeks before Christmas, I took Noah and Ethan shopping to select gifts for their parents and grandmother. Unlike previous years when I'd funded extravagant presents, this experience focused on thoughtful selection within reasonable budgets. Noah carefully chose a gardening book for Mom based on her recent interest in houseplants. Ethan selected a handmade scarf, remembering she often mentioned feeling cold. "Do you think Grandma will like it?" Ethan asked anxiously as we wrapped the presents. "She'll love it because you chose it, especially for her," I assured him. "The best gifts show you pay attention to what people care about." This moment crystallized the lesson I'd been learning throughout the year: authentic love expresses itself through attention and respect, not expensive gestures or compliance with unhealthy expectations. The lavish gifts I'd previously showered on the nephews had partly been attempts to compensate for family dysfunction, rather than expressions of genuine connection. The morning of Christmas Eve, I stood in my kitchen, preparing cinnamon rolls to bring to Sarah's gathering. Sunlight streamed through windows, illuminating the home I'd created, not just a physical space, but an environment of authenticity and healthy boundaries. My phone chimed with a text from Sarah. "The boys are already watching for your car. Merry Christmas, big brother. Thank you for changing everything." Those simple words encapsulated the journey of the past year. By refusing to participate in unhealthy patterns, I'd created space for more authentic relationships to develop. The process had been painful, messy, and remained incomplete. But the alternative, continuing within a system that diminished everyone's authentic self, would have been far more damaging long-term. The most profound realization was that establishing boundaries wasn't selfish. It was necessary for genuine connection. Years of attempting to earn love through compliance and generosity had created surface-level relationships lacking true intimacy. Only by requiring mutual respect could deeper bonds form. As I loaded the cinnamon rolls into my car, I reflected on the lesson I hoped Noah and Ethan would absorb from witnessing this family transformation: that love without boundaries isn't love at all, but a transaction. That their worth wasn't determined by compliance with others' expectations. That sometimes the most loving action involves saying no to dysfunction so that healthier relationships can flourish. The family we were building now wasn't perfect. It contained disagreements, occasional tension, and ongoing negotiation of boundaries. But it was authentic in a way our previous interactions hadn't been. In that authenticity lay the possibility for genuine connection that our surface harmony had never provided. Driving toward Sarah's house, I felt profound gratitude for the Christmas conflict that had catalyzed these necessary changes. Sometimes the most valuable gifts come wrapped in the most challenging packages. What boundaries have you established in your own family relationships? Has standing your ground ever led to positive changes you didn't expect? Share your experiences in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more real-life stories about family dynamics and personal growth. If this resonated with you, hit the like button and share with someone who might need encouragement to establish healthy boundaries this holiday season. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes the most loving gift you can give your family is the truth.